Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Ya, da, 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 bim, bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam.
Good Shabbos, everyone. Wow, it's nice. We're, being here together and warming up this chillier evening. For those online, as always, welcome yourselves and tell us where you're watching from and greet one another. But for us in the congregation right now, let's find somewhere sitting near who we may or may not know and introduce ourselves to them and wish them good Shabbos as well. CAYA service, which means it's casual, it's come as you are, it's relaxed, it's earlier in the evening so that we finish in 45 minutes and you can go to dinner or make your Shabbos dinner or have some wine or whatever you do to enjoy Shabbat. But it's a way to begin Shabbat together with our prayers, with our reflections. We don't formally use the prayer book. They are always open and welcome to use that as we go along with our services. We're lucky and blessed to have Matthew Steyer as our soloist tonight to add beautiful music to our prayers and to share with us. As Cantor enjoys honoring her friend, Craig Todman out in California, the composer of many of the melodies we sing, and sharing that too. So Matthew jumped in, which we appreciate. Shabbat is a time that we come together, a time that we say we return. We return to our soul, we return to that understanding of where we come from. And I wanted to start with a thought about this week's Torah portion. The idea of standing up for what we believe in. And the idea that Shabbat gives us a chance to reflect on what matters most in our lives. Some of us come just for a peaceful moment in time, the way to reflect. Some of us come to remember and to honor, to hold on to those who we've lost and to honor them with words of Kaddish. But we come together as a community. So this week's Torah portion has a story of Sodom and Gomorrah in it. An amazing story of Abraham confronting God when God tells him that he's going to destroy these two cities because they're filled with evil, filled with people doing things that are inhumane, and the rabbis go through chapter upon chapter about what that might be. One of the things they come up with is that they're inhospitable. They don't welcome strangers. God first thinks, should I tell Abraham about what I'm going to do? Should I let Abraham know that I'm going to destroy these two cities and wipe everyone out? He thinks, and he says, I should tell Abraham. So the first thing we learn is the idea that we're partners in this life of creation, that God made us, humanity, to be a partner to help in our world. Our world's imperfect, and we have responsibility. But secondly is what Abraham stands up for. God says, Abraham, these two cities, they're filled with sinners. I'm wiping them out entirely. Abraham says, entirely? If you wipe them out, won't people look at you and say, well, what's the point of creating humanity if we're just going to wipe people out? Is this really how you want to be remembered? What happens, God, if there are 50 righteous people who live in these cities? Will you still wipe them out? Abraham says, 50 people. That's all I'm asking, God. And God says, okay, if there are 50 people, I won't wipe them out. Abraham's got chutzpah. Lots of chutzpah. And then he says, well, God, if there's 50, what's 5? What happens if there are 45 people? If there are 45 people, so really, would you wipe that out? God says, okay, Abraham, for 45 people, I won't wipe it out. Abraham says, well, God, what about 40? What about 35? What about 30? God keeps agreeing all the way down to getting to 10 people. If there are 10 people, will you wipe? No, I won't for 10 people. Abraham stops. It's why we have 10 for a minyan. We're told that 10 people together form a community. And so 10 righteous people form this community, and so God won't destroy Sodom or Gomorrah for 10 righteous people. Of course, 10 aren't found, and the cities are destroyed. But the idea of Abraham standing up for righteousness, standing up for people he did not know, standing up and saying, why would these entire communities be destroyed if we have someone who is righteous there? That's why the rabbis say, if you save one life, it's as if you have saved the world. You destroy one life, it's as if you destroyed all humanity. Because of what begins with one life, what we create with one life, what that means in our lives. So, as we begin Shabbat now, what I ask of you is, what do you stand for? What's most important for you that you would argue with God? That you would say, this matters. This is who I am. This is what we do. We return to Shabbat as a moment in time to center ourselves so that our values work. So our values help guide us. So our values are with us every single day, but we're all busy. Life is crazy. There's so much to do, so many things we didn't get to that we wanted to get to, so much that challenges us. Shabbat reorients us. Chance to return. Think about what we stand for. What matters most for each and every one of us.
Return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you were born and reborn. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul.
So I ask you all to take a deep breath now and think about what we return to. What makes us a community as individuals in our prayers? And again, for us now, if you want to use the prayer book, you can. If you want to just sing along with Matthew, it's wonderful. Our prayers are opportunities to connect, to return. Our prayers are what we make of them. And sometimes the words resonate and they work, and sometimes it's the melodies that help us. Sometimes it's whatever enters our mind, whatever enters as we think, as we sing. So with that in mind, we begin with our call to worship, the Baruch Hu. And if we're so able, I ask you to rise now as we come together as a community.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
I was thinking in the midst of our prayers on this night, the value of the fact that it's also Veterans Day. And I saw one post that it's Armistice Day. I haven't heard it called that in a while. The idea of Veterans Day and honoring on November 11th those who served in the armed forces of the United States and what that represents for us as a community. And that connection, again, what do we stand for? Right? Those stories that we've learned, generations, especially the greatest generation, what mattered to them, the 16-year-olds who lied about their age to be able to enlist in 1942, knowing what was happening in Europe or learning what was happening and how significant that was and what the concerns were. And I think it's important for us to pause in the midst of those prayers, our prayers, and think about those who gave their lives, those who gave their time, those who gave their energy and their commitment to stand for something we believe in, the freedom that we are blessed to have in this country, that we never should take that for granted. I've often said, maybe not in sermons, but I believe that we should have a draft. My friends in Israel all have a certain respect for a commitment they give to their homeland and the 2 or 3 years they serve, men 3 years, women 2 years, and what that represents. They don't always love that time, and it's often filled with anxiety and stress, but there's something of community that is created because they've all been through this together. We've all experienced that. But I like the idea that maybe not everyone has to serve in the military, but that we're conscripted for service to other people. We help the underprivileged. We help work on roads. We help do things that are needed. We give to other people. We have responsibility in this country. I believe that's a Jewish value. I know my grandparents jumped on a boat from Poland and Russia to get to this country in the early 20th century to find safety, to find security. They experienced anti-Semitism, but my papa deeply loved this country. Talked about the value of what he was able to do in this country, to work in this country. to represent, for him, the idea of success was seeing your child go to college, to have an education, that which he stopped in 7th grade because he had to work. But the idea that next generation could have that which was better because his country offered that. And he was proud of it. He raised us to believe in that as well. So I always look at veterans who supported that mission, who protected this country, who still do that with a sense of reverence and appreciation. And I think that is a Jewish value, a priority. Again, of what we stand for, what we believe in. And that idea as well that we never know what tomorrow brings. Yes, every single day we have hope. That's what wakes us up in the morning. We wouldn't get up if we didn't have hope. There are some days we don't want to get out of bed, but eventually we do. And we have plans for tomorrow. Have big piles of leaves to take care of. Maybe some want to watch a football game. We have plans. But the reality is we all know what happens in our lives, in our world, and so we hope, and that's what keeps us going. Our prayer, Hashkivenu, is that hope. It says, let us lie down in peace, God, and permit us to wake up in the security of knowing that we are safe and that we're loved. Be a shield around us. Keep enemies, disease, violence, hunger, homelessness far away from those we love. Help us bring that away from our world. Be a sukkot shlomecha, a sukkah of peace over ourselves and those who are a part of our world. That's the unknown of tomorrow, but what we hope for today, and why we pause in our prayers to give thanks and recognize those blessings that are with us in this very moment. I would hesitate to take a poll and ask what we look for in our services, what we look for in our prayers. You know, we're taught that our prayers are a combination of three things: of literature, of the liturgy, the actual words, the poetry that's there; the historiturgy, the idea that there's this historical presence that exists in our prayers, that sort of we come from something before us, reminiscing those miracles that our ancestors experienced, and the idea of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Sarah, Rebecca, Leah and Rachel, and those who set a path for us. And there's a dramaturgy of it as well, the drama, the sense of awe that we create in the majesty of a service. I don't always find it so dramatic. Daniel was really good at the drama, some would say. But the idea of what that does for us. But, you know, if we were to take a poll and ask that question, what are we looking for? What moves us? And that's one of the most difficult things, because prayer is one of the most challenging things for us to do. Right? The rabbis say when we close our eyes, when we meditate, whatever enters our mind, Gam Ze Kadosh. If you could see my thought bubbles, you would not think that's always holy. But the rabbis say it is, because we can't always control our thoughts. And that's what comes in and lifts us up, because somewhere it's connected to something beyond us. Gam Ze Kadosh. This too is holy. And that's why we begin with the Amidah, the central prayers of worship, by saying those words, Yehiyu l'ratzon imrei fi v'hegyon libi l'fanecha Adonai tzuri v'goli. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart, my mind, be acceptable to you, God, because I try. And so for me, prayer is all about trying. Prayer is all about trying. And whatever enters our mind, whatever happens in the midst of those words, Gam Ze Kadosh. This too is holy. That's why the rabbis love the idea of fixed prayer, the ritual, the ones we always say, and they call it keva, and kavanah, the inspiration, that which we can be lifted up to. So if you want to open up your prayer books, maybe find these words on page 25 that lead into the Amidah to help inspire. If you want, and maybe not. Maybe it's just the melodies that connect. Maybe it's just sitting here and breathing and realizing you're not alone, that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. And in our memories, in our connections, in our community, we get hope. And we hold on to that which has been blessings for us, literally for generations. As we continue with our prayers of Amidah, we rise together if we're so able. Please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Ve'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ולמען אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
So as we continue standing, so our thoughts turn to those in need of healing and strength with our prayers of Mishaberach as we take the Torah out of the ark and we walk around with it and we reach out and touch it, as we mention those in our community who are in need of healing. And getting strength, having Torah in our midst, just as much as it's been a source of wisdom and learning for our people of thousands of years, so is a source of strength and hope as well. Think of those who are part of our families, our community, who we send our love, our strength to as we gain that together as a community. Amy Drysdale, Atler, Doreen Billett, Michael Brody, Karen Kasman, Patty Seresny, Megan Dox, Michael Eisen, Barbara Esrig, Tim Gaylor, Danielle Goldberg, Todd Graham, Barry Grant, Batya Babesha Panina, Ava Haber-Kornholm, Ty Hall, Hank Heiser, Michael Hovey, Carol Kaufman, Gilbert Cleef, Alyssa Coltoneau, Karen Coltoneau, Rachel Lannis, Marta Lazar, Henry Leopold, Max McCole, Louis McIntyre, Zoe Marcus, Stuart Markovsky, Maureen Majeski, Sean Majeski, Joyce Maza, Teresa Miji, Rachel Bat Aryaleva Pasha, Gail Mintz, Lev Herschel Ben Ami, Linda Newman, Robert Nosenchuk, Rezel Batlea Miriam, Melanie Pohl, Eileen Porcelli, Tina Prosh, Joanne Reed, Eve Ryder, Rachel Mibet Chaim Bachava, Marcy Fisher-Reiners, the St. Amand family, Dolores Silverstein, Bernard Sklar, Eleanor Smith, Roberta Sanino, Susanna Stern, Ben Stone, Barbara Storm, Joanne Tellerick, Naomi White, the 32,455 American troops who've been injured in Iraq and the surrounding areas to date, and all the names in our hearts. Baruch Atad Narafel Chalim. Bless you, God, to give strength to those in need.
refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
So you turn the Torah to the ark, so you turn to our prayers of adoration and aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גלולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
The Kaddish is one of the most powerful prayers of our people. Ironic, though, that it nowhere mentions death, and it's an affirmation of life. But for me, the idea that we say this not as individuals, but as a community is what makes it so powerful. That a mourner is not alone. Whether it's something recent or a year or a decade or many more, we mourn and we're not alone. And we come together as a congregation, as a community, to help one another so that no one should say the prayer by themselves. And so that we feel that support of community and the comfort that not being alone can bring to us in difficult times. And in saying the prayers that affirm life, we're saying thank you for the blessing of those who have touched us, those who have blessed us, those who have been a part of our lives, our world, and whose lives still continue to impact who we are, the values, and what we stand for on this day. So this time in our prayers, our thoughts turn to those who have been taken from our midst in this past month. Shloshim, we still mark, friends and family of our congregation. Mary Must, Bruce Sucher, Saul Picard, Sally Sklar, Ruby Hertzberg, Ida Wider, Ellen Garrick, Phyllis Moroff, Susan Brody, as well as the 4,586 Americans of our armed forces who have been killed in Iraq and the surrounding areas to date. And we link their names to names whose yortzites we mark on the Shabbat, those anniversary of passing we lovingly commemorate, friends and family of our congregation, Ronald Barnett, Harriet Burke, Madeline Berman, Louise Blank, Stanley Brown, Joel Bussell, Amy Camille, Shirley Citron, Yetta Epstein, Eddie Eskovitz, Belle Ida Falk Pearson, Carol Frank, and Henry B. Frank, Joseph Goldring, Louis Green, Stacy Hightow, Carol Horwitz, Mary Ann Jerez, Rose Kaufman, Melvin Keeps, Alan Cole, Dr. Bernard D. Lynn, Sheldon Irwin Max, Esther Side Minlin, Jamie Morey, Doug Moss, Fred Needleson, Yitzhak Rabin, William Ratner, Alan Ryder,
Ani Rope, Mildred Rothman, Joseph Siklich, Diane Snyder, Evelyn Swartz, Pam Taylor, Richard Varon, Kayla Lucille White, and Jeanette Urofsky. Linking their names to all the names that we do not recite on this Shabbat. Those of every faith and family, those whose lives have touched ours, as well as those who have no one to stand and say Kaddish for them. So do we stand together as one community and joining the immortal words of the mourner's Kaddish as found on page 46 of our prayer books. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, b'alma divra chirate v'almich malchute, b'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayedechol Beit Yisrael, Bagala uvizman kari v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mavarach olam ma'amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'nadar v'naleh v'nalal, shmei kudusha b'rechu, v'yala min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damaram v'yama v'imru, amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabba min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Hoseh shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. The source of peace and peace to those who mourn, comfort to those who are bereaved, here and everywhere, and let us say, amen.
Hoseh shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Hoseh shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel
are watching services online, do we count them or not? There's a whole halachic conversation, especially in the conservative movements, the Jewish law companies and that so much as far as that. Do we count them online? So, and we did, because if you recall, this first year of the pandemic, we were only online. And so we would have enough of us online and decided we could do that, right? The conservative movement has decided, though, that they can't do electronic for the services. And so they do passive, video
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Amen.
Say Adonai Oz V'Hemodi King. Adonai Rex V'Hemod Shalom. God gives strength to all people. From all is here to everywhere. Good job, everyone. Thank you for helping. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos to you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Always a pleasure.
Oh, you're kind. You're kind.